God, may the words of my mouth now and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, for you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. The season of Advent is a wonderful season in the life of the church. The church is gorgeous. We put on our best clothes. We look our best. We have visitors who come. We remember the old and we look toward the new. Speaking of old, our passage today is an ancient passage. Isaiah, who wrote this, probably lived somewhere about 650 BC. So these words that Brian read for us this morning are almost 3,000 years old, 2,600 plus years. They're ancient writings. And Isaiah was looking forward to a day when there would be peace on earth. He proclaims a three-part prophecy. The first part, he says, is that a new Jerusalem will arise. He said it'll be founded on the mountains. So what he really means is that Jerusalem now stands for Israel, the expanded Jerusalem, the greater Jerusalem. And in that time, people from all over the world will return to Jerusalem. I, for one, believe that part of the prophecy is being fulfilled in our day. The nation of Israel, after 2,000 years, resurrected in 1948. Since that time, over 5.5 million Jewish persons from around the world have returned to the greater Jerusalem. Many Christians, many others. This is in fact taking place in our day. So the first element of this great prophecy, I believe, is happening. Now, once the New Jerusalem is founded upon the mountains, it's larger, and people begin to come from all over the world, the second element of the prophecy takes place. Isaiah says that the people will come and they will want to learn God's ways so that they will walk in His paths. There will be this worldwide yearning to know the ways of God. Do you think that's happening today? Not so much. I think if that's one of the pillars that has to happen before the end of time, we got plenty of time. Is the world hungry for the knowledge of God? Is the world beating a path to His door? Are people coming, seeking an understanding of His ways? Not so much. We focus our attention on wonderful, exciting discoveries. We launched the Hubble spacecraft into the heavens, and they can look back in time. They can see light that emanated almost from the beginning of the universe. We study the chemical makeup of the body, the DNA. We are unraveling the mysteries of the human genome. And the man who is head of that study for the federal government taught Sunday school at Carrboro United Methodist Church, where I was the pastor. UNC professor, now Nobel laureate. We study the cosmos. We study our own makeup. We communicate faster and faster and faster with cell phones and iPhones and this phone and that phone. And yet, do we gain any wisdom? Not so much. The people of the world, when they return to the greater Jerusalem, will be hungry for knowledge of God. They will want to, it'll be a burning desire within them. The real God, not just the God we project. We like the God who is the comforter, don't we? We like a God who will comfort us when we are sorrowful or sad, and that's certainly an element of God's nature. We like the God who is the provider the provider God, especially during this holiday season and the harvest season. God who provides everything that we have. We like that. Or the God who is the healer. We like that. We seek healing in our life. But what about the God who demands justice and righteousness? For that is what the people will learn when they return to Jerusalem. Once they get there, they will be taught an interesting and surprising lesson, and that is the third element of this great prophecy. They shall learn about peace. They'll beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. They will lay down their weapons. And that wonderful phrase from Isaiah, they will not learn war anymore. Remember that old spiritual, going to lay down my sword and shield, down by the riverside, lay down my sword and shield, going to study war no more. What would this world be like if we could finally learn to get along with each other? Think of all the resources that we would free up in this world if we could get rid of war. When I was working with Stop Hunger Now a number of years ago, the United Nations came out with a study and said that we could basically globally move all the people who have less than the minimum daily requirement of food up to the minimum daily requirement. We could wipe out hunger in the world for about $20 billion a year. That's about the cost of a new aircraft carrier. We could do this. We could solve hunger in the world if we could learn how to get along with each other, if we could get rid of war, if we would follow the Prince of Peace. I'm going to study war no more, going to study war no more. Well, I know I'm preaching this sermon in Fayetteville, the arsenal of democracy. And I'm proud of all of our service people. And I want you to continue to protect me and my rights. But the vision is still there of a new world of peace. A new world where we are peacemakers. Where we learn to get along. Isaiah was not just pie in the sky in the sweet by and by. He lived during a time when the feared Persians under Nebuchadnezzar were arming. And Isaiah was a priest. He had grown up in a priestly household. He was well off. He knew how to read. He knew how to write. He talked to leaders in Jerusalem. He knew what was in the air. He could see that a giant army was massing and would soon come and there would be great war. And yet, in the middle of that, he proclaims this day when we will beat our swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks. If you go to New York and go to the United Nations, right across the street on First Avenue, beside the Avenue of the Americans, is a great semicircular niche. And in it, given by the United Nations to New York, are the words of Isaiah, where they will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. It is our great dream.